Welcome back. In today's video, we will be doing the one layer challenge, also known as Why Did We Do This? This is Blue Buns.
This is Jelly Buns.
We draw things sometimes. So welcome to Drawing Buns.
Hi everyone, this is Jelly Buns, and this is how I worked on my one layer challenge. As you can see, I decided to work on this challenge live on Twitch to help me stay motivated and a little bit honest. Mostly motivated, however, because I'm sure, as Blue can probably tell you, this was not always fun. I have done this challenge, I think, 2 times before in the past. It doesn't get a whole lot easier every time. Maybe a little bit. You learn some things. I know that some people might be saying, well, traditional art is all one layer, and that's true. But you kind of get a feel for working traditionally on one layer. There's definitely a particular challenge to this challenge in digital. And I think that is mostly due to the constant nagging, annoying habit gnawing away at your brain, telling you, make a new layer, make a new layer. And I had to fight that. I think that was probably one of the hardest parts of this challenge. You don't really get that in your brain so much when you're working in your sketchbook, because, you know, your sketchbook doesn't have layers. I think the second hardest part about this was just after making the sketch, it felt very, now what? Because whereas I have steps planned out for where to go after a sketch, say when sketchbooking, I do not really have a game plan for doing it digitally. As you can tell, I'm working on this project using Clip Studio Paint instead of Procreate, and that's mainly because I am way more comfortable on Clip Studio Paint than I am on Procreate. Although I am getting more comfortable over time with Procreate, I really prefer Clip Studio because it keeps a lot of your options and just brushes and shortcuts and things out in the open where you can sort of grab them and use them quickly. I have access to a keyboard, which gives me, keyboard shortcuts and things like that. And just generally, I am more comfortable using Clip Studio. Also, I don't have a setup right now where I can stream from Procreate, and I really wanted to try streaming this particular challenge. Because I think every time I have done this challenge, I've streamed it. And it just, at this point, seemed like, well, tradition, let's continue streaming the one layer challenge. So the hardest part was definitely the constant nagging in my brain to add layers as I went, and then trying to figure out where to go after the sketch. So I decided eventually to try and treat it a little bit like how I might approach oil pastels, which I haven't used in a number of years, but since I mainly use the same 2 brushes when I use Clip Studio Paint that are somewhat reminiscent of oil pastels, I thought, treat it like oil pastels. And actually, now that I've done that, I kind of want to revisit using oil pastels just because it's been so long. Sometimes I get a little bit bothered using particularly messy traditional art supplies, but it's just been such a long time, and I have such a fondness for oil pastels because my first time using them, I was a child, and that was the first time I had decided that I really did enjoy drawing, and I actually had a certain amount of skill kind of ready to go for it, and I had decided this is what I want to do forever and ever. The downside to doing this challenge live, unfortunately, was I kept kind of going on tangents, as you tend to do when you stream anything live, whether it be a game or art or crafting something. It's just a little bit more annoying to do so when you go on a tangent in the middle of a stream, and then you have to go back and edit all of that out for your video on YouTube later. But that's kind of the nature of the beast of streaming, unfortunately. It was very fun doing this on live anyway, because then I could complain about it the entire time. I have to say, though, it was less and less of a struggle as I went. I definitely wish that I had started with a background color before I worked on everything else, which I feel is so against just very basic like how you learn traditionally. Most of us started off traditionally when we started drawing, and that's like one of the first things that I think an art teacher tells you is to do the background first.
As an art teacher, yes, we do tell you to do the background first. No one ever listens. Yes, it's super frustrating. Back to the video.
I just skipped right over that and decided I didn't need to. I think because I was just so gung-ho on drawing this modern-day Princess Peach and very excited that it was a fan art piece that I just kind of forgot about being a little bit more responsible and wanted to draw the fun part. So that's probably my biggest regret in making this, was that I really should have been a little bit more responsible and logical with it and had done the background before I even did the sketch. But here we are. It worked out. I think I did a pretty good job in the end. I do wish I had taken a little more time while coloring it, just because I didn't really add any shading at all and my highlights were extremely minimal. I do enjoy adding lots of texture and stuff normally when I illustrate, but I think by the time I had finished up the character as a whole, I was very much ready to be done, because I did get quite frustrated not having at least a couple of more layers. But I think all in all, I'm pretty happy. Let me know what you think.
Hi, this is Blue Bun, and I'm going to attempt to do this one-layer challenge. I have never attempted to do a one-layer challenge before. Jelly brought up the idea. I instantly hated it, but since she seemed very confident in doing one-layer challenges, I was like, okay, let's give it a try. So you can see I struggle in this video, and you're going to come along for the ride. I started with my base layer in a light purple, because later I had planned on putting a pink in the background, and I thought that this color was going to show in the end because I couldn't make another layer. And what I found was that I went over it so many times different ways that this purple doesn't show up in the end. So I really like drawing with this color actually as a sketch layer, and I think I might do it more often because I really did like it. I ended up changing some of the shapes and some of the placements of the eyes and the nose. I moved things around in this layer. I go and normally I wouldn't do all of this moving in this layer. I would do it in the next one. And I agree with Jelly in that the part where you have to remember, oh, I can't go in and add another layer next. It's just so tempting to just go up to that screen and select a new layer. I use Procreate for my drawing, and in Procreate, they make it so easy to do so many layers and draw over and over and over again, because it's just, I have a pencil, it's basically like writing on paper. I use a paper-like screen on my tablet, so it's really just like drawing. Here you'll see I decided to erase the layer. So the purple layer, I decided to take the eraser, move its opacity down so I get to keep basically a little bit of that color left over. And then I went in with my 6B sketch pencil in a light gray. I really hated this layer after I finished it because I thought it was really messy, and I end up doing the line art again. So what I've been doing lately in my art is using this sketch pencil to create a really cool textured feel to the work that I'm doing. But because it is on one layer, it makes it really difficult to use the texture. And this is where I remember to do the background color first. Congratulations me, the art teacher, remembering to do the thing. I decided to first go with an orange color because I thought I would use some color theory. It was mostly blues I was going to do, so an opposing color would be orange. Then I realized that I added in a lot of pink, and her skin tone is kind of peachy, so the orange color in the background wasn't going to work. I changed it to a pink, and did not get really fancy with my color theory in this because I was already struggling. So I keep my palette of color in the lower left hand corner, so I try to limit my palette to only those colors or in those color families when I draw. So I have them to reference in the bottom to make sure nothing is clashing or going wrong. Here is where I really start to struggle with the pencil. Again, I'm still using that textured brush, and it is basically looking too grainy in my brain. I was like, wow, this doesn't look right at all, and I'm not used to it looking so weird. So I kind of color in a little bit at this point, and then start to shade how I would if there was a layer underneath line art. And then I realized there's no line art. So I'm like, wow, that looks hideous. Let's try that again. So I erase it and I start adjusting, and I change the brush that I'm using to a script brush. And that's in the calligraphy set of pencils in Procreate. This one I love, and the monoline brush because they come out so smooth in the end. I like this brush because you can get a tapered end, and you can get thinner lines, and then monoline is just kind of a single thickness. At this point in the game, I am getting more confident in how I'm coloring, although you will notice as I'm doing this, the struggle that I had with this whole challenge at this point is the fact that the line art keeps getting changed by the fact that I keep going back and coloring things in. So really what I should have done in retrospect is finish all the coloring and mess with all the shading that I wanted to do first, and then go back and worry about putting the line art on top at the end. And I really wish that I had tried to do a one layer challenge on something else before I jumped into this one, because I learned so much from my process in this one that I think that in my second attempt I wouldn't have struggled so much. But I also felt like this was fair in the spirit of the challenge, that I was learning kind of as I went. I think Jelly got to do this before, so maybe that's why she was so confident in her drawing. She just jumped right in, and I took forever and ever to draw color line art. At this point, I start to finish up the details and then realize I didn't shade. So I do go back and start doing a cell shading technique that I haven't used in a long time. I used to use it all the time when I drew in Photoshop, and I haven't really gone back to that in a while, so it was fun to kind of revisit a technique that I haven't used in a long time. I start to put a shadow in the face that I change about 100 more times because I hate it. But I stuck with it, you know, I kept going. I thought about at this point in my drawing, I should start over again, like take what I learned from here and start drawing again, because I hated it, but I just kept messing with it. So I just kept at it. Again, I felt like it wasn't in the spirit of the game to give up and start again. So you get to be here for my struggle through the whole process. And you'll see here I change how the hood works, where the ear is. I get rid of the ear in the end, I think, because I couldn't figure out how to get it to look right with how the hair was falling. So again, see here, I'm going back and I'm working on all this color, and then I'm fixing the line art, and then I have to go back and do the shadows. So here I start to do the shadows in that light purple color that I was using to sketch with, because I still think it fits the color scheme. And I'm gonna have to go over all of those line art pieces again, and it's just, the struggle was real, you guys. It didn't I didn't enjoy this. That's where I'm going with this. On some of them, so here I would have just, if I had a normal drawing experience, I would put another layer on here and I would do all of my shading in a multiply layer so that I could just pick a color and use that to shade pretty much everything. But I couldn't do that because of this awful challenge. So I went and picked my own shadow colors and kind of used them throughout. And this was my hardest thing, because I basically color in a regular drawing. I would do a line art layer, then I would do a color, like a base color layer, and then I would do a layer that's a clipping mask and do the multiply so that I could do all the shadows on that layer. Then I would do another layer on top of that, that would be the highlight layer, and put all of my light source or lighter areas in on that layer. And then if I had any effects that I would want to do, maybe in the background or over top, or a gradient or a color fill, I would use that on another layer. So that's what, like 6 layers that I normally use. And so getting that out of my head was really difficult. I don't know if I learned anything from this that I would go back and use ever again, because I just couldn't wrap my head around here's the line art again. I do the line art and then the line art. Just couldn't get my head around it. But in the end, I changed the background to see where her colors and what her colors were looking like with the teal that was in this. And then I changed the background back. So it's teal, then it's pink, and then I end up doing some quick effects. I put some teal highlights in, and I am super done with this at this point. So that's where it ends up. And here's my final piece.
Hi everybody! Don't forget to like and subscribe and share with your friends on social media. We're most active on Twitter. And if you have an idea for a particular art and illustration topic you would like us to discuss in the future, or just want to leave a fun and friendly comment, you can do so down below. And don't forget to click the little bell. Have a nice day, and we'll see you real soon, okay? Bye-bye!